Before we begin, this video is based on our own experiences with Highguard, and reflects our personal views on what they offer and how they feel to play. As always, we recommend you make your own informed call by looking into the games yourself, and ensuring they match your expectations, standards, and personal values. With that out of the way, let's begin. Who is Highguard for? No, genuinely, without getting snarky, without proclaiming how live service games are a plague on the industry and we don't need another, without even acknowledging that the talent behind Titanfall 1 and 2 Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order led about 100 equally decorated developers to deliver this after 4 years. Who is Highguard for? Is it for hero shooter fans who aren't interested in memorable characters, interesting abilities, or unique properties? Is it for tactical shooter players who enjoy bomb planting, wall reinforcement, and limited respawns? Is it for the Battle Royale aficionados who like visiting unique points of interest to collate a collection of interesting loot across? Actually, for all that, is it even for arena shooter fans, even though it's only 3v3 as opposed to 5v5 or 6v6? Well, whoever that may be, they're not playing Highguard. That's not a funny haha bit for this review. On several occasions, I've struggled to start a match because there weren't enough players. It would behoove Highguard to matchmake further and find someone else, but no. Back to the lobby with you. Now, I've seen the Concord comparisons, and they've made me bristle a fair share. No, this isn't a 5v5 hero shooter with a competitive style that doesn't make sense. It's a 3v3 hero shooter with no competitive playlists, which makes you lose multiple times in a match before calling it quits. But it vexes me greatly because if you took this gunplay and this art team and applied it to a single-player title with optional co-op, we could have had something enjoyable. 4 years later, and instead, we get Highguard, a PvP raid shooter where the team sizes barely qualify as dungeon-worthy in any self-respecting MMO, and that's maintained roughly 20% of its players on Steam about a day after launch. Since I've so eloquently outlined who isn't playing Highguard, it's probably a good idea to explain what it even is. You're a warden who's basically a magic wielder with guns. Far be it from me to expect Wildlight to go with a vibe befitting the gunslinger, but that's who you are. There are 8 to choose from, and I can only remember 2 names, Mara and Scarlet. Scarlet is the knife lady who can also cloak and escape danger. You've played Jet from Valorant, it's the same, right down to resetting cooldowns on kills. Mara can grant additional shields to the team and set up a respawn point, the latter offering some clutch revives when trying to destroy the Anchor Stone. Otherwise, there's a guy with a cape who does something, a beast-like guy who can tear through walls like they're cheddar, and a fire bro who's really into vests. As part of a team of 3, the objective is to venture out of your base and find the shield breaker, or rather, wait for the shield breaker to form, which unveils the true gameplay loop of Highguard: mining. It gives you Vesper, the currency used to purchase better weapons, accessories, armor charges, and more from Flynn, the vendor. It also inexplicably has a timing mechanic, and while it seems annoying at first, executing it perfectly activates the super swing that can immediately destroy the next ore node. Gunfights, unfortunately, can be very sporadic, probably 1 or 2 before it's raiding time. Pitting only 2 teams of 3 against each other is absurd enough, not like it couldn't work on something like Blood Gulch, but Highguard's maps are huge. You can easily go in one direction and never see the enemy team until it's time to claim the shield breaker. And for such large tracks, the fact that I only ever really saw one notable random event, a loot drop with a power weapon that didn't even feel all that powerful, I'm left to wonder why I should bother. It's probably for those who aren't as confident in facing other players to avoid danger and mine resources. Why not add PvE enemies or mid-bosses that actually award amulets, higher tier shields, or unique weapons? Why are these maps just so empty and dead? Throw in 2 extra teams at minimum, increase the team size to 10v10, and throw multiple shield breakers on the map. Something. Anything aside from this tedium. But I digress. When it's time to fight the enemy team, I'm baffled by the utter lack of synergy in their abilities. Scarlet, at least, has some playmaking potential if you can land enough knife hits, and Mara allows for additional revives and damage absorption during a raid. Otherwise, time to kill can be fairly quick on pretty much every round of a match, because just as you gain more shields, legendaries start dropping like candy. That means faster time to kill, which translates to quicker deaths and more riding out into the world to reconnect with your team. Every round, you ask? Why, yes! After acquiring the shield breaker and marching to the enemy base to initiate a raid, a skirmish of attrition begins. Either you sabotage their generators to reduce the overall base health, or the anchor stone to immediately end a match. Defenders are on bomb defusal duty, whereas attackers must camp at a sabotage generator to destroy it. The next round commences, and we do it all over again. The best part, if the enemy consistently defends their base and then brings the shield breaker over to you, it's GG. Even better is that during the phase where both teams fight over possession of the sword, respawns can become locked until one side emerges victorious. You can thus watch in vain as your one sole defender tries in vain to stop the enemy from ticking your base to blow it up. Truly an incredible finish to multiple rounds of boring looting and so-so mining.
Well, you could do the same thing,
Some will doubtlessly say, and I agree. It's still a boring way to end a match, and even in terms of balance, it becomes very easy to snowball the opposing team. But aside from the bizarre design decisions, the largely forgettable heroes, and the mostly boring gameplay loop that can result in matches lasting an agonizing 40 minutes, that's all there is to Highguard. Say what you will about Concord, but at least it launched with multiple modes, most of which I didn't care for, but hey. I barely mentioned the raid tools, real-time destruction, and reinforcement because they feel so tacked on. Why reinforce something when it's easily destroyed? Why bother spending money on rocket launcher ammo when I could just shoot a structure with a secondary weapon and break it just as easily? What annoys me all the more is that there are some fundamental aspects of the gunplay and movement which are pretty decent. As uninspired as the weapons can be, never mind the lackluster variety, they can feel good to control when mouse acceleration isn't driving me up the wall. I was mildly impressed at how much better guns can feel to control as they increase in rarity. Similarly, the mounts don't feel too shabby. Seamlessly teleporting in and out, especially if you happen to catch a zipline, heck, even the sliding feels smooth. Which isn't to say there aren't issues. Activating Mara's cloak while on horseback resulted in getting on a rock and a quick death. And regardless of the generic aesthetic, these environments are gorgeous. Each base feels unique in terms of layout and overall division of objectives, while offering different themes. I'll also admit, watching the siege engine teleport in and slowly but purposefully breaking down the enemy's base is pretty cool. Too bad it feels less impressive after multiple times in a match. Unfortunately, this all comes at a cost. I've read reports about forced temporal anti-aliasing and how low post-processing can force upscaling separate from DLSS and the internal resolution. Regardless, Highguard's environmental textures and details did not look good even at 1440p with everything set to medium. My hardware is well beyond the recommended requirements. I thus opted to see everything at high, knocking the resolution down to 1080p and frame rate to 60 FPS, resulting in a mostly stable experience. But I couldn't shake this feeling of blurriness coating everything. My cabinet's fans also sounded like they were prepping for takeoff, even with minimal action happening. Highguard offers an extensive amount of microtransactions, but there's also a free Warbond-like battle pass that you can unlock items from using in-game currency, which is separate from the unlockable cosmetics for weapons and Wardens. It's par for the course in today's multiplayer sphere, except I received a measly 80 purpley doodahs after 40 minutes of play, and one item unlocked costs 400. You'll be shocked to hear that I won't be spending another 2 hours and 40 minutes to amass more, even if there are other sources. After all this, we came full circle, and I ask once again, who is Highguard for? What does it really offer that's unique in today's market, outside of combining several discordant competitive shooter mechanics into an abomination that's more boring than hideous? Hey, did you know that we at GamingBolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell. And let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.